I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
Man, dude, you can't tell me you hadn't seen any new things to this week. Nothing. Every time I ask you, you have nothing for me.
I've been watching on Netflix Beauty Queen of Jerusalem, but I'm not done with that.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go check that out because I've been trying to find good movies that interest me, and a lot of times you kind of skip over things that you don't even know that may be good. So I'm kind of I'm done with watching Stranger Things, of course, but I haven't found anything I want to watch. I think right now I'm watching Grey's Anatomy, and there's a lot of seasons on that.
Did you watch the movie Bombardment on Netflix?
I believe I did. I just don't remember what it.
That was the one where they bombed the school.
Oh yeah.
That was good. That was good.
That was good. There's another movie like that on there that was good. I forgot the name of it. They have so many.
Yeah, there was actually.
They have so many movies.
Yeah, they do.
It's so many, but a lot of them are not always good.
Yeah,
they're not always good.
Yeah.
I was watching Interceptor, and
yes.
I'm just like, it looks great. I mean, I remember the lady from one movie, like a Russian. Remember the Russian? Like she played a movie where it was Russian spy or Russian thing.
Yeah,
that was pretty decent. But this one, I was like, it looks like low budget. It looks like they got her and put her in a shitty ass movie. Just like the shitty background I have back here. I mean, come on. But it looks low budget. And I would like more like in the middle range from Netflix. Please. You're putting out all this content. Give us some better shit. But anyway, I just had to pick your brain on this because every time I ask you, it's like I'm the only one to watch movies. I'm the only one to have free time. DaRon he doesn't have any free time, let alone he gets to make his own schedule, but he doesn't have any free time to watch any of this pointless shit, because I am lazy. But anyway, on for the topic of the day. Today we want to continue with our API hacker thing that seems to be the biggest topic right now. And we're going to debunk some of these myths about API hackers. So the biggest thing is, DaRon, do you think that there is a such thing really, as we probably already talked about, of API hackers? And when would you be an API, doing API testing? When do you normally see that? I know you see that with web requests, but when would that actually be a thing? And is it actually a thing?
So an API from this context, we discussed last time a little bit before that actually the people who run around talking about API hacking and how APIs are the next big thing must not have computer science degrees. They must not have anything related to computer science for a degree, and they must not have been in the field for a very long time. And you know what? I understand that one of these individuals has probably been around for a little while, but that doesn't mean that they've actually done anything productive. I can be in the field and walk away with significantly less experience having done it for 50 years than someone who's done it for 5 years based on my assignments, based on the work I do, right? Not all experience is equal.
Right.
But that aside, when they're talking about APIs in this particular context, they're talking solely about when you have what is effectively headless Chrome kind of situation. For all intents and purposes, I have this web server, and it's always web servers that they're talking about. Again, it's actually a very stilted definition of API, and to me, it illustrates that they don't understand what an API is, and that they actually don't understand how software works very well. Because if you're working in a gated architecture, if you're working in Corba, if you're working in really almost any kind of architecture where everything isn't just exposed, you have an API, and there is an API. But when they're talking about it, they're talking about this web server that is hosting, be it DLLs or ASPXs or JSPs or whatever. It could even be like React Native, whatever it happens to be. But this web server the back end and front end have been completely separated. By separated, I mean no longer is the web server serving the front end and only the front end. Now the web server has to serve the front end and the back end, or you already have the front end. Say you've got a graphical user interface, and it's communicating straight to the back end, which is headless. It has no user interface, no graphical user interface. That is what they're talking about. They're talking about a web server that has no graphical user interface, or where the graphical user interface is separated from the backend, such that you can communicate directly with the backend services.
And you know what's more interesting that I see, because people don't have computer science degrees and they probably never did any front end or back end work, especially back end work, that they don't understand how these things work.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of times people, like I had a buddy of mine, it's like, well, I'm calling this API, I'm doing these things and blah, 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 but don't really understand how the API works or how you're actually calling these things. Like when you see the paths, when you're calling the path from from your web server or whatever, that's literally like when a folder. There's a folder, you keep going down into deep into that folder, you get to the script or the back end thing that you're calling, and then it makes that call to whatever functionality is supposed to be doing. And a lot of people don't understand how those things work.
Right.
So what an API is, what you just described, they don't understand that. And yes, like majority of the time when I see, and you do see it with web applications, but it's just a web request. It's just the same thing calling to a web server. So the thing is that most of the time I see a lot of API testing, that's not being done with a web application is mobile. A lot of people don't have any front end for their mobile. And a lot of the times they just want to test the API because mobile uses a lot of API requests.
Right.
So, does that mean that you're API hacker? No. I mean, again, you're just a web application tester. That's it.
That's exactly right. It is ultimately you are communicating with the web server because it's going to be using SOAP, it's going to be using RESTful, it's going to be using something like that. Again, Corba. It can be using any kind of service like that, and you're just communicating straight through it. It's honestly no different than what you do when you have a graphical user interface. Because if I've got burp or proxy, whatever my proxy is, be it rat or burp or what have you, if I have this proxy, okay, so it's intercepting requests and it's intercepting responses, and I'm manipulating the requests and responses. Well, that's API hacking. And that's exactly what they're doing when they talk about API hacking in this context. They are sending requests, they're manipulating requests, they're receiving responses, sometimes they're generating fake responses. But this is, like you said, these are web servers. So you will see it in a mobile environment because a lot of the mobile applications either run a small web server on your phone. That's actually very common. Or they will call to a web server up in the cloud or some on-premises web server or what have you. And so it's just that pretty little graphical user interface that you're interacting with. And they tend to be very poorly written as a result.
Yeah. And that's just something people need to understand. Like, you need to understand these design. This is why we said, go get your computer science degree.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go get an information system degree. Don't do all of that stuff, because trust me, and in the long run, you will start to understand the fluff. Okay? There's a lot of fluff in this industry and other industries as well, but especially in our industry of being sexy.
Yeah.
I want to show that we are sexy. We're going to bring sexy back for APIs. I mean, if you are a web application tester, you're testing web services, web APIs. It doesn't matter. It's the same goddamn thing. There's nothing to separate. If you hate being a web app tester and you just want to call yourself an API tester or API hacker, then you're just bullshitting yourself. I mean, you are what you do. You know what I'm saying? You are what you are.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to make shit up.
That's exactly right. And if you want a good example, the super vulnerable Java application that we have is, of course, an API from the definition that they are using. It is a web server that takes in various API RESTful requests, and then it responds accordingly. It doesn't have a user interface. I mean, we can create one. At some point we will. But it is an API, and there's We have videos on it. We have a number of videos where we're doing insecure deserialization. We have videos where we are doing regular expression injection. We have videos where we're doing CSV injection and a whole host of other things through all of this, because that API is our vessel, just like if you were attacking a web server in any other way, shape, or form. And actually, so one thing that we should discuss are the different environments where, as you asked earlier, where you would expect to see APIs and where you wouldn't expect to see APIs.
Yep.
I'll tell you, embedded is someplace where you generally, not if it is real time, be it soft or hard, if there are any real time requirements, so you're using a real time operating system, again, be it soft or hard, you're not going to likely see anything like this, because that web servers are slow.
Yep.
Web servers are not optimized. You're using TCP, so you've got that screwing everything up. You have significantly less control over everything. The stuff that I've built for the military, for NASA, and for various other organizations, when it involves embedded technology, be it like the astronauts backpack. So we worked on the astronauts backpack and the EVA suit. EVA is extra vehicle activity. So the EVA suit and things of that nature. Well, that didn't have APIs. Not from this perspective, because it wouldn't have made sense. It would have been incredibly inefficient, and we were carrying over GPS, life support data, mission data. Someone would probably die if you used an API, right?
Yeah, I was about to say, how slow would it be to get data back, and somebody would die by the time you get that data?
Right.
You know,
right.
You got to analyze and understand what works for certain things. Just like if you're choosing to use a language for a particular project, you need to understand the pros and cons of that language.
Right. And then to add to that, TCP is the worst protocol to use when you are doing anything where there's noise, anything of that nature, some kind of disturbance, or where there's delay. TCP is not delay tolerant. And people with computer science degrees know, because they know what windowing is. And they understand how you've got that exponential back off from TCP, right? So it's waiting, it doesn't get a response in time, and now it's going to just sit there and back off, or some error occurs. Maybe your pipe is full, whatever. So you can't use TCP.
Horrible, man.
Right.
It's not a good idea.
Right, exactly. So you can't use web servers in those environments. You'll see, actually, for most aircraft and other vehicles, including cars, the vast majority of it won't use an API because it's too slow. Now, there are components that will, because they're not mission critical. No one's going to die if it's slow or if there's a mistake or anything like that. But I think in that video, there was this, she misstated, or maybe she gave false impressions that APIs were the way to go through and do all of this fancy schmancy stuff. And the truth is, she only got to see through the API a very tiny sliver of what she could do. And if there weren't that fixation on APIs, she could have done much more, because those kinds of systems usually, unless they're military or the kind of stuff I worked on, they don't have much security. Because the development team always says, "Oh, we can't do that. That'll slow it down, and someone's going to die." No.
That's crazy, man.
Well, if your system crashes, someone's going to die. So.
Yeah. I hear that a lot in the hospitals as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, but her stating control systems, that they use APIs. Somebody who tests control systems a lot, that is not true. I don't know what she was hacking or what she was doing, but no, There a lot of the control system things, a lot of the time they're either isolated and they don't communicate to the outside world. Some of them do. And even if they are, they're still using stuff back from the 80s or 70s. Like it's old technology.
Yes, that's true. That's very true.
So, it's insecure. So, and if you see the next episode, a lot of them could be insecure by default, the insecure by design. So, if you haven't seen that, go look at our next video and we explain it more in depth. But to say that APIs are utilized there, I can tell you 100% they're not. And if they are, they're probably up somewhere further in the company, up at a higher level, not in the ICS systems or a SCADA system. They're not there. Trust me and believe me, they're not. And that's like saying PLCs, they use APIs.
Right.
Relays, like they use API. Those are things that you will see down in these areas, especially in these manufacturing control systems. They utilize those things, or different machines that they utilize. So no, they don't. So that's a myth that we wanted to debunk, because I don't know where she was hacking at. It's just no. And cars, another thing. I mean, a lot of these cars, they use their own protocols.
Right.
All right. So to say that you're in like stuff like Tesla, they could be the difference where they do utilize some API for different things. It may be their administration console. That's a different from hacking the car.
Right.
You know,
that's a sliver of the functionality.
Yeah. There's so many things you can do, and there's so many things a car utilizes. So to say that, if you learn APIs, you can hack anything. No, that's not true, because you're not going to always be able to use APIs to hack into everything. You're going to have to find other ways to do that. Yes,
I would say the majority of technology doesn't use APIs, period. And that's anywhere and everywhere. You're exactly right. I've been to a lot of, I've run a lot of assessments and engagements, so penetration tests and assessments of various kinds on nuclear systems, be it the nuclear power plants and other things, on a lot of manufacturing plants. And I've never run into an API on the floor. I just never have. I've never run into one in the plant, other than at like the the big displays and things of that nature. I'm sure there are some that have fancier, newer technology, but like you said, most of that stuff is running ridiculously dated stuff. You'll see a lot of Windows 95 systems, Windows NT, or like NT4.
Yes, I remember I was doing an assessment at one that was using Windows 95. What the hell?
Yeah.
But they needed to, because of the application that ran with the actual machine.
Yes.
That was the only thing that works with it.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And a lot of that stuff, it's custom designed and developed at the time, and it costs so much to redo it that people just, they will spend huge amounts of money to get spare parts to keep these machines going, keep the computers going, be it the SCADA computers or the ICS or what have you, to keep those things going, rather than go through and get new technology, because they would have to build it again, and that usually means it's
much more expensive.
Yes. Yeah.
One of my bosses at the time, he was saying that why it is so more expensive just to get the machine and to get new software, that by the time they've done that, it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
They might as well just keep rebuilding on what they have.
Yes.
And then keep fixing it. And it was, even though it may be a piece of junk, but it worked for their cases. So to say that you're utilizing APIs for something that's using Windows 95.
Yes.
Come on.
Come on, man. And the best you're really going to see is like XP. And again, you're still not, I'm sure there are a few out there. Definitely. There are probably a few out there, but usually it's the big fancy admin console or the big fancy metrics or something like that would have something of that nature. And these things usually don't even have antivirus, because they cannot be slowed down at all.
One just a microsecond is a problem.
Yeah.
And it slows down the whole. There's nuclear, it doesn't matter if it's assembly line, doesn't matter. It slows down their whole system, and time is money, especially when you're trying to get things out to clients or stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter. This is our segment. I'm Roniel.
I'm DaRon.
And if you like this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. If you want more content like this, you want to go and debate about other things or any other myths you want us to bust, pause, please let us know down in the comment section or email us. And until then, it's our episode.
Have fun.
Later. But also, we will be going in here and dissecting this book up. Can you see it up?
There it is.
There we go. Hacking APIs by Corey J. Ball. Ball? Did I say Ball?
Oh, yeah, Ball. Ball.
Yes. We will be reviewing that. It's another thing with hacking APIs. Shout out to him, by the way. Again, we're not downing anybody in these videos. We're not trying to put people down. We're not trying to bully nobody. We're just trying to get rid of the fluff. We're trying to let people know the reality of things, because people are saying all of these things to make things look sexier and cool when you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you love this, you love it not because there's a big fancy title or huge amounts of money. I mean, those are all nice to have, but it's not why you're here. It's not why you're doing what you want to do. You're doing this because it's just something that you enjoy. And we don't need to make it sound wow whiz bang, because the truth is most people don't understand what you're saying. When you sit there and say, oh yeah, I hack APIs, that they have no clue what you just said. You might as well have just said, I hack computers, because honestly, that would probably endear you more to most people. That really would. They understand that. API, they have no clue what that means.
You don't even know what the hell a fucking API is. And then a lot of the people that's buying the book, they're like, oh, this is amazing. But that's the same shit you can see online.
Yeah.
But however, it might have been good for him to write, to understand and learn these things. So when you write things, you learn.
Yes.
You learn better. And I actually, by doing this well, and it may have been good for him to do. And I also want to give, like I said, give it thanks for actually doing it regardless, because it takes a lot of, to do that stuff. You really, really have to really be passionate and wanting to do that, and a lot of guts to put the stuff out, especially your work, knowing people are going to criticize it. So it takes a lot of, courage to do that. However, like I say, in my thought, when I get books, I want, especially when you're talking about topics like APIs and things like that, or whether it's web apps, it doesn't matter, application security, nothing's new under the sun.
Right.
But I want to see your techniques. I want to see something creative, something that I haven't seen before. All these books are just the same shit you see online. Let's go in more depth in creative ways to do things. Like if you go to our channel, you see creative ways to penetrate or, hack different things to make it do what you want to do. You get to see those different things, the way that you can use these insecurity serialization to do other things like authentication bypass that you may not understood, different techniques, not the same old jive or bullshit you see in other books. And that's what we want to do. We want to make books. Don't flame me on this, but we want to make books better again.
Yes.
Okay. Let's make it better again, where you want to go get a book and you're going to learn something interesting or a new cool thing that you can actually utilize, not something that you've already seen on the internet.
I think also books need to stop pushing tools so much, and these YouTubers as well. When you watched, for example, when we did the insecure deserialization, we showed you how it's done, period. You didn't have to sit there and use a magical tool like lyso serial where it magically pops out my attack string and then I have no clue what it does or says. I just assume that this must be good and wholesome and that it's not going to do something evil, and I'm going to copy and paste it in. Well, if it doesn't work, I'm stuck, right? And maybe I'll twiddle it a little bit and get lucky, but no. What books and what YouTube, etc., really gives us the opportunity is to show novel techniques and to show you how to do something in a way that you understand without magic, without the black magic of poof, this worked in this tool. That's why we took the time to actually walk through the code in our demonstrations, so you understand what's going on. And we did that when we talked about the log4j vulnerabilities. We did that when we talked about the regular expression injection. And we showed you how to use regular expression injection in a way that you're not going to see anyone mention online. You will see nowhere. You can search until you're blue in the face. You will see nowhere online regular expression injection for authentication bypass. Someone actually recently decided to coin the phrase blind regular expression injection, where they're trying to brute force. And that's such bullshit. That's the stupidest. If you can inject like what they have in that scenario, why would you do it blind like that? There's so many better things you could do. This isn't SQL injection. This is so much more powerful. So much more powerful.
Everybody wants to get a name off of something. Like that's the biggest thing. Like, and the reason why I say this is I understand it because I always kind of kept saying, what can I do to get my name out there? And I never wanted it to be fluff. I never wanted to make something up. You know what I'm saying? I wanted it to be whatever it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? But my biggest thing is just the creative ways. Mm-hmm. That's what makes you different. That's what sets you apart. The creative ways you do things. The creative ways you think about it. Not trying to make something up and say, oh, I coined this. I coined a blind regular expression. What are we going to do now? Blind CSV injection and all the,
Yeah.
No.
Anything can be done blindly. I mean, that's the joke to the whole thing. And oh, by the way, his was still blind RDOS, so regular expression injection denial of service. And
that's all you can do?
Right.
There's nothing else you can do? Like, there's more you can.
Our industry suffers from a lot of people who have no imagination. And our goal here is we take the Bob Ross approach. I love Bob Ross. Bob Ross is awesome. Yeah. Absolutely amazing. Bob Ross sat there and he said, I don't want to teach you how to paint my painting. I want to teach you how to paint. We're doing the same thing here, and we encourage authors of books to do the same thing. We encourage you to teach your audience how to think out of the box. We encourage your audience to actively participate in that. And I do the same thing here. And honestly, when we're critiquing or it sounds like we're hammering someone or something, it's oftentimes out of love for you and love for the individual. And someday someone's, I'm sure, going to hammer us. I don't know what over, but it's going to happen.
It's going to be for somebody. It could be because of my shitty background. I mean, it can always be for something. But, the whole idea is that we want to just, for people who are new, like I never had this, for people who are new to understand that these things a lot of this shit is fluff. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? To understand how to actually go and utilize a technique without having to use a tool. How many times have you seen people just drop things in and can't even explain it? When they have to explain it back to the developer or a company or a client, they can't even explain what happened. It just was magic.
Yeah. Cool map.
Right. You can't do that. You got to be able to step out and even if you're afraid of it. I'm not the best SQL guy. I'm going to be honest. I'm not the best SQL guy. And I got a computer science degree and I've done SQL stuff, but I have to look it up a lot of times because I'm not great at SQL. I'm great at JavaScript. Really good at that. I'm a lot of, because I was a web developer, of course, use JavaScript all the time, but I'm great at certain things, but I understand whatever my weaknesses are and I try to get better. And the only way to do that is to manually learn, do these things, not use a tool.
Yeah.
So that's what OSCP tries to do. But, I think they fell a little bit on that end. But anyway.
It's nothing but tools.
Right. But that's what you'll get here. You'll get these things. And in the future, we'll have more demonstrations on manually doing a lot of different things and other ways to utilize those same vulnerabilities with different techniques. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to bash people. We're just trying to give people who are new or people who don't understand or people who are in the industry that's been in here for a while that don't understand the core concept to get it and understand it and how to do it manually in application security or in general, period, and utilize those same techniques in other areas.
Yeah.
So that's what this is about. This is not a bashing channel. This is just really to help people get better in our industry so we can, blossom, we can get better and we won't stink. Because right now I think we stink. All right.